Recently, there's been tremendous media attention on ISIS and the role of the United States in taking military action against the group. Joining us is Professor Sahar Aziz from Texas A&M University School of Law, a national security expert, here to talk more. Professor Aziz, thank you for being here. Currently, President Obama has ordered strikes in Iraq and also Syria. Is it legal under international law?
Well, President Obama believes that it is legal under the doctrine of self-defense, which is a customary international law doctrine. He argues that the United States is facing a threat from ISIS, and therefore it has the legal right under international customary law to strike back. The problem with that argument is that ISIS has not proclaimed the U.S. as an enemy insofar as it has imposed an imminent threat on the United States. The imminent threat is really on Iraq and on Syria. So it will be a bit of a stretch for Obama to argue that the U.S. is facing an imminent threat.
Now, some have argued in the administration that the president has authority under the UN resolution passed in 2001. Does he?
Well, on September 12, 2001, the UN Security Council issued UN Resolution 1368, which gave the United States and its allies the authority to strike back against Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and associated forces. The argument is that ISIS is essentially associated with Al-Qaeda. The problem with that argument is that ISIS is no longer associated with Al-Qaeda. It was associated for 10 years, from 2004 to 2014, February of this year, until Ayman al-Zawahiri, the head of Al-Qaeda, had a falling out with the head of ISIS over the high civilian death rate for Syrians, and also because ISIS believed that it controlled Jabhat al-Nusra, when in fact Ayman al-Zawahiri claimed that he controlled them, which is the Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda. So it's a bit of a stretch for Obama to argue that that resolution applies here, but the counter to that is that out of 10 years, only 6 months pales in comparison. So that is enough of an association for that UN resolution to apply and give the U.S. legal cover.
Finally, you mentioned the civilian deaths. Is the president justified under international law theory of collective self-defense?
That is a great point, and I think with the Iraq situation, he has stronger standing. He can argue that Iraq has asked the United States to help in fighting their war against ISIS, and it is a very open armed conflict, and ISIS has declared that it wants to take down the Iraqi government and take over the land that is now Iraq, as well as Syria and other Middle Eastern countries. So I think that argument is stronger. With Syria, it's a little tougher because Syria is not an ally. Syria has not asked us to go and defend it or use military force in its defense. And we have imposed sanctions on Syria and in fact have openly stated that we would like Bashar al-Assad's regime to go. So to argue that we are engaging in collective self-defense to Syria is a bit weaker than it is with Iraq.
Well, it sounds like there'll be a lot more to talk about in the weeks and months ahead. Professor Sahar Aziz with Texas A&M University, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.